Good morning and welcome to Sips of Sanity. I'm Kelly.
Good morning, I'm Karen.
We are nearing the end of 2019. This is, however, January's Sips of Sanity. We've got the last 2 days of December happening right now. And Karen's prepared a really wonderful show for you to walk you into the new year.
Yeah, I chose the topic of self-care. I went on the internet, researched different podcasts and how they presented it. And I think we have a little twist in ours for you today that I did not see in anybody else's podcast show. There will be some content that is general. So you might sit there and go, I already knew that. I've seen that in other shows. Yep. But we have added some extra stuff for you.
Well, I think too, if you're hearing it again and you're going, yeah, I already knew that, then hopefully you're hearing, I'm doing things well.
Yeah, I hope so too, because I think we all need to hear things more than once.
Yes.
Okay, going to start?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're doing this randomly, right?
Yeah, I think it's good to do it randomly. I thought about organizing it to some degree and decided just to throw things at them.
Okay, throw it at me.
Okay, so the first one is to leave something. That your self-care can involve that you have to leave the job. Or that you choose to leave a relationship. That you choose to leave something that is unhealthy for you. And that is the point. You can be doing all of the other self-care things like having a bath and getting your nails done. You can be doing things that are still very important. I'm not trying to diminish having a bath or getting your nails done. I'm saying that leaving a relationship is going to be something that continually bothers you and can cause stress, anxiety, and depression. And no matter how many times you wash your hair and get your nails done, your biggest issues are still going to be there. Mm-hmm. And you're still not caring for yourself if you're staying in these relationships that are not. I don't want to say positive because I don't think anybody should be out there thinking that's not realistic just to find positive relationships. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying you're looking for perfection. We're not saying that you can't stay and work on something if the other person is willing to work on it as well. But if you're the only person working on something at work or in a friend group, whatever, one friend, a partner, your child, if there's only one person, it's unhealthy.
And if the other person is working hard to sabotage.
Yes, I like your point because if you're working really hard to heal or to fix it, then you're codependent. Mm-hmm. So we won't stay on this one because that can just go into tons of information. But I think self-care has to include looking at relationships and saying, if I'm working, then I'm a healthy part. Is the other person as well? Mm-hmm. And if it's not both of you, then you have to reassess it. And that's part of your self-care.
Can I add something then? Mm-hmm. Because your first point is leaving something, and I think that's fantastic. But I want to talk about the way people leave. Because a lot of people throw big, messy tantrums and think, I'm taking care of me, but are mean in the process.
Right.
And abuse in that process. And think that they have every right to make things even more messy. Instead of just understanding that cold turkey, no contact, are better ways and actual self-care ways of leaving something.
I think that's good to say.
Yeah, you don't plant a bomb and then walk away and think that was self-care, because you're putting that kind of negativity into the world. Mm-hmm. You're causing disruption and destruction in someone else's life. And that's not the point of leaving, and it's also not the point of self-care.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like the fact that you're pointing out that when you drop bombs in other people's worlds, that's not your own level of self-care. Mm-hmm. Nicely said. Mm-hmm. Okay. The next one is giving up an addiction. So this can involve a variety of things in a conversation, because that kind of self-care would then involve finding the proper support. That would involve maybe like medical. It can involve therapy. It can involve, as you said, changing, or as we both said, it can involve changing where we work. And somebody might think, what? If I'm giving up my addiction to alcohol, I might have to quit my job. You might, because you might say the job drove you to drink.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of work environments now have a very like modern culture where drinking is acceptable on the job by the company.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And that may be something that can work for some people who do things in moderation,
Yeah.
who can treat a treat as such. But if you can't, then perhaps this is self-care.
Well, self-care would be to know your limits and your boundaries, which is another point here. So it's segueing nicely into another form of self-care. But were you ready to go there just yet?
Well, can I make another example? I think of just locally, someone might be listening in another part and think that has nothing to do with the sport. But I know that our local curling club is a very kind and tight-knit community, very inclusive community, I want to clarify. And one of their traditions is that every single week, they play once a week, the loser buys the winning team drinks. And that is part of their culture now. And it's very friendly, it's very social. But if you are someone who's needing to quit an addiction, then this may be something that you need to take a break from. Because if the culture promotes it, even on a very gentle level, it can jeopardize your ability to commit.
Or perhaps self-care could mean that you have a tea, coffee, a water, a health drink. It could also mean that when they go to buy you the drink, you bring your own in your thermos.
Yeah, you come prepared.
Yeah. And I think of people with food intolerances or food preferences and how very prepared they have to be when they're going out to social functions and how they may choose, well, if I get there, I can always go to my car, pull out my little
Snacks,
Tupperware
yeah.
container and bring it in and I'll have my snacks. I want to be able to stay to enjoy the social part. So your self-care is in that you make sure that you meet your own needs. Geez, we're throwing a whole bunch here, eh? This is nice. I'm glad we decided to go randomly.
One of the things I love most about Sips of Sanity is the ability to hit the pause button, if you have forgotten that that exists, and start brainstorming how things fit in your own life. Because if we're just giving examples and you're going, oh, well, I don't play curling, and that's the end of your thought process, then you're not using this to its full advantage, right?
Right.
You're not sitting there going, does my hockey team do that? Does my volleyball team do that? Does my knitting group do that? If it's not a sport that you're involved in. How can you make it applicable so that you can implement self-care in your routines?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it takes brain power, but I think it's a very gentle introduction to a concept.
Well, it's like when we have to, when we choose to throw out examples like leaving something, that it could be a job, but it could also be a friendship. And that yourself...
Or a PTA group.
Yeah. I'm going to say a religious group because it could very well mean that it's not a healthy group. I'm not saying this in the sense of, say you're Catholic and you think this group is unhealthy. I'm not saying that you have to leave that religion. You might need to leave that group of people because you might be able to go to a different group of people within the same religion and realize that they're kinder or more inclusive or more forgiving or whatever it is, have healthier boundaries, aren't codependent, whatever it is, that you can still find a way to leave something, but still figure out what your parameters are around your leaving. You might leave a job, but stay with the same company and move to a new office or a new location or a new position. There's lots of different ways of looking at it because somebody might think, oh, I can't leave my job. I need all this. I need my income. Well, of course, we understand that. Do you have options within it? Can you change? Can you meet with somebody and say, I need change? I still want to stay here. How could that look? Okay, so today we've talked about leaving different things, and we're asking people to think about if there's, like, to really assess, is there something in my life where I'm unhappy or where it isn't congruent with my growth? Is there somebody there or a situation there that if I had better self-care habits, I could be functioning better? And better meaning not just happier, but maybe more productively, maybe with less physical pain, maybe with less stress, maybe without it creating anxiety or depression.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good start. So we are coming back on New Year's Eve with our second show on self-care.
Okay.
Okay, so if you have questions or comments about today's show, you can email us at info@bysarlo.com. We still have 4 more shows coming for you. If you're just listening by audio, thank you so much for tuning in. We love that you're interested. We love that you're soaking up as much as you can to make this personal. If you're wanting the next 4 shows, though, or if you're joining us on Patreon, thank you. The rest of the series is on patreon.com/bysarlo. And as always, on Monday next week, we will have our reflective questions out so that you can actually work along to these shows and apply them to your own life.